The Pope apologizes for the abuse at residential schools. Local reaction from a survivor and others. And City Council will vote on a controversial EMS master plan. Good evening and thank you for joining us. An historic apology on Canadian soil today from Pope Francis, fulfilling his promise to residential school survivors and their families.
Just a day after landing in Alberta, the head of the Catholic Church spoke directly to Indigenous people and told them he's sorry for the abuses they suffered at residential schools. Bill Fortier was there.
Moments ahead of a historic apology on Canadian soil, Pope Francis began what he calls a penitential pilgrimage at the Ermineskin Cree Nation Cemetery, just steps away from the site of a former residential school in Maskwacis, Alberta. Sitting before a wooden crosses, the head of the Catholic Church offered a silent prayer, a private moment of reflection before entering the Powwow Arbor, where he was greeted by Indigenous leaders, elders, and survivors.
We sincerely hope that our encounter this morning and the words you share with us will echo the true healing and real hope throughout many generations to come.
I have come to your native lands to tell you in person of my sorrow, he said, again asking for forgiveness. I am deeply sorry. Sorry, he said, for the ways in which, regrettably, many Christians supported the colonizing mentality of the powers that oppress the Indigenous peoples. He spoke of shame, evil, and the cultural destruction and forced assimilation committed by Christians. This apology is the recognition Indigenous people have been fighting for. It comes more than 7 years after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called for an apology on Canadian soil.
This whole process has to support survivors. It has to support their healing. We have to let survivors know that they're loved and they're cared for. And to me, if we keep that spirit as we go forward, then this whole trip will be more successful.
Pope Francis returned the children's moccasins given to him at the Vatican in March, saying they were a reminder of his sense of sorrow, indignation, and shame.
That really put into perspective that my presence in Rome and carrying the spirit of the children has now been returned back to us with blessings.
And following the pontiff's words, he was gifted and wore a ceremonial Indigenous headdress, a symbol of great respect. Pope Francis also acknowledged begging forgiveness is not the end of the matter, that a full investigation is also an important part of the process, and support for those still healing from the traumas they suffered. The Pope will hold a Mass tomorrow at Edmonton's Commonwealth Stadium. Bill Fortier, CTV News, Maskwacis.
Here in Thunder Bay, the reaction to Pope Francis's apology has been fairly positive among people we spoke with. Local Indigenous people, along with the head of the Catholic Diocese, feel the pontiff was sincere when he spoke about healing and reconciliation. Jessica Clement reports.
Again, asking forgiveness, of telling you once more that I am deeply sorry.
Pope Francis's apology has been much anticipated by Indigenous people from all across Canada for decades. Many wanted the Church to not only acknowledge the forced assimilation of Indigenous peoples into Christian society, but to also take accountability for their actions. We spoke to Fort William First Nation Chief Peter Collins just before the apology, and he spoke about what he wanted the Church to address.
The commitment we would like to see from the Church is that they apologize to our members, apologize to our communities, apologize to the survivors, and at the same time making a commitment that the churches will never have an impact on our kids again.
Meanwhile, at the Diocese of Thunder Bay, a number of Indigenous members, as well as Thunder Bay Bishop Fred Colley, watched the apology live. It was an emotional time for the group as they watched the Pope beg for forgiveness for the decades of abuse towards Indigenous children at residential schools. Some watching were residential school survivors themselves, including Grace Escuega, who said it felt like he was speaking from the heart.
It's kind of a relief in a way because of the unforgiveness of our people. And now that we've heard the apology and saying I'm sorry is heartfelt. And I'm truly grateful for this moment to hear our Pope talking about the healing, the journey that we need to begin.
Bishop Colley also thought the Pope's words were sincere and says the Pope will be able to begin a special process of healing for Indigenous people throughout Canada. He mentioned that the apology is just the first step of healing and reconciliation.
He encourages all Christians and all of us to work together and to put things in process so that we can better recognize the culture and the religion, the spirituality, and also the language of our native peoples of Canada, and appreciate them for the goodness that they bring us.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council will make a decision tonight that will have a massive impact on Superior North EMS services across the district. It's recommended that Council vote in favor of a plan to close one ambulance base and consolidate others in North Shore and Greenstone communities. If approved, the bases in Nipigon and Red Rock will be merged into one. The same will happen in Schreiber and Terrace Bay, and the Beardmore base would be closed, with that ambulance being redeployed to Long Lac. Beardmore will still have a community paramedic at the health center there. EMS Chief Wayne Gates insists the changes will have only a minimal impact on wait times, and he says the merger should help deal with a staffing shortage that's affecting all communities.
I can tell you I have challenges in the city of Thunder Bay where my response times are probably higher than what they are in these communities. And that's because, of our serious system busyness. So, I would love to get to everybody's place in 2 minutes, but in our current environment, that's just not possible.
Another important vote tonight could see Council push any decision on the proposed indoor turf facility until January of next year. Administration believes with a municipal election right around the corner, it's unrealistic to think this term of Council can make a decision beforehand.
Ontario's Education Minister has announced a 5-point back-to-school plan to help students catch up from the pandemic. Janice Golding tells us what it entails.
We may be in the thick of summer, but school is still top of mind for many.
I'm looking forward to school.
They are not active at home. They're just using their technology, so I want them back to school.
And with just a month and a half to go before school resumes, the Education Minister gave these assurances to parents today.
We are committed to keeping kids in school. The children must be in schools. It is so consequential to their mental and physical health.
A commitment to full-time schooling beginning on time with a full slate of extracurriculars.
Kids need to go to school, and we can't just keep the schools closing after every pandemic, after every outburst. So I think that's a great decision.
Oh yeah, definitely. They need to exercise their mind and their bodies.
The Education Minister's commitment to extracurriculars was one of 5 planks in a plan to catch up from the effects of school closures. A plan that also includes more tutoring and mental health supports, preparation for the jobs of tomorrow with a focus on STEM and financial literacy, for example, and designs to build new schools and hire 3,000 more staff.
They are exhausted. It is volunteer work.
Still, as NDP education critic Merritt Stiles pointed out today, supervising extracurriculars isn't mandatory, something to keep in mind as the government embarks on bargaining with Ontario's 5 education sector unions.
You have to talk about respecting them. And if you want to talk about it at the bargaining table, then you have to talk again about, how do you support those teachers and those other education workers to do all those important things that they do.
So what colors are you going to use?
Here we go.
For his part, Stephen Lecce says he believes the government will reach voluntary agreements with the unions and Ontario's children will have a full educational experience this year.
I think parents have little tolerance for the disruptions after 2 years of difficulty, and the government is standing up for them to ensure that they do get back to school on time and that we get them back in a normal setting. And we hope our union partners will work with us to achieve that imperative.
Janice Golding, CTV News.
Weather permitting, the James Street Swing Bridge is expected to be repaved starting tomorrow after the asphalt sustained heavy damage over the past year. Potholes mark both sides of the bridge connecting Fort William First Nation to the West Fort area, running almost the entire length of the southbound lane. The vehicle lanes just reopened with new pavement in late 2019 following a 6-year court battle between the city and CN Rail. In a written statement, CN apologized for any inconvenience caused during the repaving and says roads that see a high volume of overweight vehicles require more frequent repairs. Fort William Chief Peter Collins says the poor condition of the century-old bridge is a safety issue for his community.
My message to CN is to maintain their bridge on a regular basis so we continue to travel safely on it. It's so important for not only for us but for CN itself, so the cost of repairing that bridge doesn't become an issue.
It's a cow trail. It should never be allowed to be in that condition, but it is. And I just hope they fix it and not cause too much of delays.
Bannon, whose gas station sits just on the First Nations side of the swing bridge, says he frequently hears complaints about its condition. Some of his customers even decide to take the long way back to avoid crossing the bridge again.
Gasoline prices usually go up in the summer months, but fortunately this year, prices across Canada and here in Thunder Bay have dropped by around 40 cents over the past 6 weeks. Gas bars on Dawson Road are now under $1.70 a litre, and the ones on the Fort William First Nation are under $1.50. Jonathan Wilson reports.
It's nice to have kind of cheaper gas.
Amanda Cassie liked the price she saw on the signs at Simply Gas, which is now under $1.68 a litre. The area's newest gas bar has been pushing prices down along Dawson Road since it opened last fall, and Cassie says the latest decrease is very much welcome.
Great, actually, because when it was over $2, it was getting a little too much to even go for a ride. With everything else rising, it's kind of nice that something's finally going down again.
Gas prices hit an all-time high in Thunder Bay in mid-June, when some stations hit $2.29 a litre. Since then, prices have dropped about 40 cents around the city. Over on the Fort William First Nation, where prices are usually lowest, the gas prices have now dropped below $1.50. J&W Gas Bar co-owner Wally Bannon says it's causing traffic there to pick up even more than it was before.
Well, it certainly made it a lot busier with the clientele liking the lower prices. So it seems like the traffic hasn't really stopped for the whole summer. So people must have had some money after the pandemic, and they continue now that the prices are a little lower.
Market analysts say the lower prices are due to a mix of factors, including decreasing demand, falling oil prices, and the Ford government cutting the provincial gas tax by 5.7 cents a litre. The downward trend is expected to continue a bit longer before leveling off, but Bannon says gas price trends are hard to predict.
I hope that they continue to fall, but every day is a different day. When we get our bill in the online, that's when we determine what our price is. I determine that with our overhead and our volumes. That's how I push our setting my price.
Gas prices on the First Nation and Dawson Road are actually lower than the Ontario average right now, which has risen slightly to nearly $1.74 per litre. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Fort William First Nation held its annual health fair today at the community hall. It's designed to encourage healthy lifestyles and connect community members to resources. Fort William residents, young and old, were in attendance, but the youngest were the focus of the event with a theme, Healing Generations to Come. Community Health Representative Brooke Chichu says the idea is to heal and break the cycle of trauma against First Nations people.
This is bringing awareness to our community of all the different agencies that are available to them, and then just to have fun today and stay healthy.
Well, I hope that they have a better, healthier future than what we've had in the past 2 years, that they're able to overcome more.
Helps 100%. Learn about different things.
You can't do much stuff when you're sick.
A wide range of healthcare and related agencies had information booths set up, as well as games and activities for the kids.
The very first Country on the Bay Music Festival drew thousands of people to Fort William Historical Park this past weekend. The 4-day concert saw a number of country stars take the stage, and the show went on despite some rain on Saturday and Sunday. Jess Clement has the details.
This weekend's rainy weather didn't stop Thunder Bay's country music fans from enjoying their favorite musicians. Donna Marrow was Sunday's opening act, followed by Madeline Merlot. The show was presented by the organizers of Country Fest in Dauphin, Manitoba, who have been trying to bring music to Fort William Historical Park for 2 years. Spokesperson Cameron Winters says the best part of this weekend have been both the fans and live performances.
It's nice to see all the bands starting up again, live music starting up again. Everybody's really bringing all their energy to the stage, which is great. And then in turn, it's nice hearing all the locals being so excited that we brought this here and thanking us, so that's really good.
The event saw over 5,000 attendees a night, who were all excited to finally be there after 2 years of waiting.
We've been enjoying it a lot. We've been here since Thursday with the Rat Claws, and now we're all the way here to Sunday, and this is Cora's first time, so yeah.
It's been too long. This is great. It means everything. I'm here with my family, so it's just nice family time. See a few friends around, it's great.
And while it's a little too soon to guarantee the event will return, Winters says there's hope for the festival to come back another year.
I mean, you can never really tell the complete status of it until way after the event, but I mean, from the attendance, from the excitement of the people, we really think that this is a really good festival and there's lots of potential, so there is definitely some hope in the future that it will happen again.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Well, Mitch, I bet a lot of fans were hoping they had today's weather this past weekend.
Yeah, because today was very nice. Other than the clouds, the temperature started as a low of 11, but made its way all the way up to 25. Now, it was partly cloudy throughout the day with bigger cloud clusters. Some sun on and off throughout the day, but at least we got some sun with that temperature nice. There was some wind from the northwest up to 24 kilometers with a little bit more gusting as we head into the region. Also nice temperatures in Kenora, Dryden, and Fort Frances, all sitting around 23 at the moment with partly cloudy skies. They had some on and off rain throughout the day earlier today, but planning to clear up throughout the day. Atikokan 22 along with Upsala at 21 currently. Now, temperature is not looking as nice in Red Lake. It is 21, but those clouds are making their way into the region as there's a storm system starting to make its way in. It's going to affect the rest of the region throughout the week, but starting here in Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, and Pickle Lake, expecting some rain heading into tonight. While in the northeast, they started with some early mist over in Armstrong at 23, but those that has cleared up heading into night. Partly cloudy skies, also 22 in Greenstone, while over in Marathon, heading over to Sault Ste. Marie, they saw rain earlier today, but now those temperatures looking fairly clear at 19, expecting a nice warm night heading into the rest of the day. Now tonight here in Thunder Bay, the temperature is going to drop down to 13, but sitting around average. Those clouds we saw today are going to start to clear up into the night heading into tomorrow. The wind, though, is going to pick up from the west from 9 to 30 kilometers an hour. But as for that rain, there is thunderstorms and rain on the way for the rest of the week, but we'll have more on that in just a bit.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mitch. Well, when we return, 3 people are dead following a series of shootings in BC. We'll have all the details as your Monday News Hour continues.
3 people are dead in BC, including a suspected gunman.
This after a series of shootings in the Langley area. Another woman is in critical condition as well. Police used a cell phone alert earlier today saying they were on the scene of several shootings involving, quote, transient victims. RCMP say the emergency response team found a suspect matching the description of the vehicle not far from where another man was found injured with a gunshot to his leg. During an interaction with the suspect, police say the man was shot and pronounced dead at the scene.
And our thoughts and prayers go to the victims and their families. Now back to our top story. Reaction continues to pour in from Indigenous people across the country to the Pope's apology for the Catholic Church's role in Canada's residential schools. Rahim Ladani has more.
Your worship. Historically, one lowers themselves in the presence of the Holy Father. But today, Pope Francis bowed his head to the Indigenous people in a gesture of humility.
El peso que llevaban dentro.
The pontiff's apology for the harm done by the Catholic Church at Canada's residential schools is being seen by many as an historic moment.
A statement was made that the Pope said he was sorry. That is going to send a message across these lands, these waters.
But some survivors watching from home remain conflicted.
It took me 32 years to love myself after I went through the residential school. It takes time. It doesn't just happen.
This 50-meter-long banner was brought out for Pope Francis to see. Written in white on the blood-red fabric are the names of 2,800 Indigenous children who died in Canada's residential schools and were identified in the National Student Memorial Register.
This feels, it's like going full circle from feeling a lot of emotions many, many years ago and then just feeling a lot grounded today.
There's anticipation that the papal apology may also be triggering. Indigenous Services Canada has deployed 300 cultural and health supports across Alberta.
To provide cultural and mental health services in a gentle, compassionate, caring way to individuals who are attending these events.
While the Pope's visit to Canada is viewed as a step forward toward reconciliation, young activists say protecting Indigenous traditions is more valuable.
Us Indigenous people, we are still here, we are still strong, we are still resilient, and I will do my best to educate my grandchildren and my children.
Preserving the culture that for so long the Church tried to erase.
Environment Canada is on the scene of a powerful and destructive storm in eastern Ontario. They're assessing whether or not it was a tornado that struck an area east of Peterborough, but people who experienced it are pretty sure it was a twister. Austin Delaney reports.
Just yesterday, a group of golfers had rented these cabins at Bridgewater Retreat, leaving shortly before what the people here say was a tornado.
And the other cabin that's there is probably in the river right now. I can't even see it.
Phil Slaney's cabins either destroyed or gone.
Cabin. That blew about 15, 20 feet this way. These two are destroyed. Half of this one's in the river. I'm gonna take you down here and show you.
Holy. This is what it looked like from a car driving into the storm last evening. Large hail bouncing off the car.
The tree just went down beside us.
This viewer video showing a dark cloud and possibly 2 funnel clouds behind the trees.
Well, it's quite possible we could have had 1 or 2 tornadoes, maybe even more. This was a particularly long-lived rotating thunderstorm, what we call a supercell thunderstorm. When we look at the map and the track of damage or the length of time this thing was a rotating storm, the total distance is an incredible about 140 to 150 kilometers.
From the CTV News chopper, you can see the residents of this house survey the damage where the roof has been torn off, going through a window, checking inside to grab a few things. Nearby, another building completely collapsed, the roof lying down on the ground. You can see where the wind struck down trees, which now lie flat, people surveying the damage from their backyards. In the field, a man attaches a tow rope to his truck, which is found in a field some distance off the highway, thrown by the wind. People's homes heavily damaged along with barns destroyed, these horses being cared for by their owners. While hydro crews have already started the work of repairing damaged power lines, it appears there's much work to be done. Downed trees covering local roadways. Lucy Sanzo shot this video after looking out her door and could not believe her eyes.
Oh my God! Oh my God, the tree just fell on the cars! Oh no! And said, oh my God, the rain was just coming down horribly. It's like, it almost looked like snow. That's how thick it was. And then I looked over, I go, oh my God, the tree fell on my cars again. Because this happened on the long weekend in May.
The tree had snapped in half, landing on her 2 vehicles, one just replaced after the last storm.
Austin Delaney, CTV News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, thousands of customers in Quebec found themselves still without power today. They continue to clean up from a tornado that touched down there on Saturday.
People saw the funnel and people saw the damage. People saw the trees falling in front of them. You know, maximum winds maybe as high as 200 kilometers an hour, possibly even a little bit more.
The tornado ripped through a small town in the Laurentians about an hour north of Montreal. The strong winds uprooted trees and many homes and vehicles were severely damaged. The senior Mountie in charge of the investigation into the deadly Nova Scotia mass shooting took the stand today at the public inquiry. On the night of April 18, 2020, several witnesses told police they had seen the gunman driving an RCMP car, including Jamie Blair. She called 911 to report that her husband had been shot. Blair herself was also eventually shot and killed, but Chief Superintendent Darren Campbell said he believes people struggled with the vehicle information.
With all due respect to Mrs. Blair, she was encountering the most evil that she could ever encounter, and her ability to communicate, obviously she was trying to do that desperately with the 911 operator. But what I didn't hear in that is she says it is an exact police car.
The RCMP have been criticized for not following up on early witness reports.